materials you will need today are your Lewis and Clark journal or a piece of drawing paper, colored pencils, a pencil, and one item found in nature, either from outside or maybe something you can model from inside your home. In addition to Lewis and Clark, 5 other members of their expedition also kept extensive journals. President Jefferson had instructed Lewis to make observations of latitude and longitude and to take detailed notes about the soil, climate, animals, plants, and native people. Lewis identified 178 plants new to science, including bitterroot, prairie sagebrush, Douglas fir, and ponderosa pine, as well as 122 animals, such as a grizzly bear, prairie dog, and pronghorn antelope. Scientific sketches, like the ones they would have done on the expedition, and like these shown here, are different than normal drawings. They often include labels, diagrams, questions, and sometimes explanations. You don't have to be an artist to create a successful scientific sketch. You simply have to take time, observe closely, and record what you see. For our scientific sketches today, we're going to follow the ABCs from the California Academy of Science. They feel scientific sketching is accurate, big, colorful, detailed, and explained. We like that definition, and we'll use that in our lesson today. Today, you're going to pretend you're Lewis and Clark creating a scientific drawing for your journal. Your item may be different than anyone else's, but use the tips and tricks we give you in these lessons to create your best scientific drawing. So the first step in creating your scientific drawing is to try to make it as accurate, and we want to make it large. So if you can, at all possible, if you can make it life-size, that's great. So I have this one example, and I'm going to talk to you about how to create some guide marks on how to make this as accurate as possible. So if you have an item that fits on your page, you can actually make some marks to help you make the size pretty close. So I'm going to make some marks on here where I have some points of reference for drawing later. So this is the end of my stem, and then I might even put a mark here where it curves. But this is a key point because here I'm going to draw some lines where the stems, making like V marks, where the stems split, and then I want to show that there's a stem here. And then I might also put a dot here where this top of this bud is. And then here's another mark where it splits. There's a stem here and a stem here. This one ends here. This one ends here. Here's another spot where one stem goes this way, one stem goes this way. This one ends here. This one ends here. So I'm just making some guiding marks. Might look like code right now, but I know this is my line to show the stem. And then I know there's a stem that goes this way and a stem that goes this way, and this one goes straight up to end at this point. So you get the idea. I made these guiding marks so that I can continue to make this as accurate as possible. And I know my buds on mine kind of are at the end, at the top of those, so I can continue to make it as accurate as possible, continuing to reference back my my original item. You could do the same thing, like here's a flower. I could do the same thing by showing like some marks where the leaves kind of start, where the stem comes, the length of it. So you get the idea, making some marks on your page that guide you on how to draw out this as accurately as possible. Give it a try using whatever item you found in nature. for this segment, to make our scientific drawing, coloring is often really important to show the realistic look of the item. And I picked this flower because it's starting to dry, but boy, the colors and the variation of the colors is amazing in this. So you can even do this with an item that's all one, seems like it's one color, but if you look really closely at this, I don't see just one color. I see shades of green. Some of these little buds look almost yellowy. There's greenish brown in here, even in the leaves from one side to the other. You can see the veins in some of the leaves. So I want you to first really observe what you're looking at and then pick colors. I had some color pencils that I chose that I think are going to represent this picture. And then these are some techniques I want you to give it a try as you try to make this scientific drawing. So one of the tips is direction. And so we often know to color going one direction really makes our picture look neat. And you can do kind of the up and down direction, but you can also do diagonal. And one of the techniques I learned from a color pencil artist is you can actually layer colors, which we're going to do later. You can actually color in a circular motion depending on what look you're trying for. So this, and you just keep layering color in a circular pattern. So that's another idea, depending on what your item is. You can think about the direction of the pattern in the item, like these. I can show these veins in this petal with the direction that I show in my pencil. So think about direction, and then value is the lighter darkness of a color. And so in one color pencil, I want to show you, if you, I'm going to turn this sideways, if you color really lightly, that gives you one value. And I think it's easier to color lightly this direction. It's easier for me to control my pencil. And then I can show kind of a medium value. And look at how the color can kind of change. There's a medium value. And then if I press even harder, I can see quite a difference in the value of the color from light to dark in just one of my color pencils. So you might feel like, gosh, you only have maybe 2 or 3 color pencils. You can still use them in different values to show a variety of colors. The last tip I want to show you is about layering. And this is quite fun. And again, I learned this from a color pencil artist. And I am going to start, one of the things she taught me was to really observe all the colors that are in an item. And to start, like maybe I'm going to draw my petal. Let's pretend this is our petal. And I might lay down the color I think is most, like I think it's kind of an orangey red. And I might layer in the first color, I think. And then I might layer in another darker color. So I'm going to keep adding different colors and layering them in here. I'm adding some yellow to add some, because there's definitely some yellow showing up at the end of this petal. So what I want you to do is just encourage you to play around with layering these colors, and you can and play around with the direction of how you're shading them in and see what that does. As a final piece, I could even add just some lines here to show the petal some of that direction it has. So I can even show that with a little bit of a darker color. It almost looks like there's some green in here too. So that's kind of an interesting thing I could do. Okay, so you kind of get the idea of, if you look closely at all these different colors that I'm showing, the more you layer, the more realistic it can be. So have fun with that. See what you can learn as far as really observing your item and trying to draw it and color it as closely as you can. Okay, so another aspect of doing your scientific drawing is to make it very detailed. And one way to do that is to zoom in on something that you find unique or something that you want to highlight from a different viewpoint or a different perspective. So for example, this item that I drew the first time, if I lay it down like this, that's one point of view. And then I might think about something else, like I actually find the top of these little berries interesting because they look almost like little apples in a way. This one, the brown, as they get brown, they look a little different. So I might draw my picture, I might zoom in on one of these berries from the top perspective. Or if I take like my flower that I was using, maybe I showed it from this perspective, maybe I want to zoom in on all the layers of the flower from the top perspective, or maybe I want to just take one petal to really zoom in on so I can really show the variations of the color in this one petal. So one of the ways to do that is to make like one of the magnifying glasses or a zoom in, and you can either do this, you know, sometimes it's the circle, like if you drew your large, let's say this is my picture of my berries, and this is just a sketch of them. Let's pretend that's my picture. And then I can zoom in and say, this berry right here, I'm gonna zoom in on and show you from the top perspective of what this one berry looks like. And maybe even I take it off and use it as a example to draw from. And so you can draw like a circle around it to show you're zooming in on that section. You can draw a square, it doesn't really matter your shape. But the idea is that you make this magnified. And so I want to make the top of my berry, it's pretty much a big circle, but you get the idea. Look at how much bigger I'm making it. And I'm kind of trying to show some of these, you might not be able to see it here, but there look like these different lines going down off the sides of it. So I want to show that. And then I definitely want to show this center that's darker with this little stem in the middle of it. So that's an interesting feature. So you can, to show detail, you can pick a section that you find really interesting or that you're wondering about. I want to know, why does it look this way? What are these berries? Are they poisonous or are they edible? What else do I want to know about them? So you might zoom in on something you're interested in, that you find unique, or that you can show from a different viewpoint or perspective. So think about adding a zoom in or a magnified section of your scientific drawing to show something new. As a final step in your scientific drawing, you want to explain what you observe. You're going to try to be as specific as you can. You can use numbers. Like for example, I might say each stem has one berry. Each berry has 4 leaves below it. Be specific with numbers. You might be specific with where you found it so that there's more information about the location. You might be specific as far as what time of year you found it and what it looked like that time of year. So be specific with as much information as you can. You also want to label. So you're going to add details and maybe have arrows pointing to different things. You might also include clues as to what the item is. Like, I don't actually know what this is, but if I was just showing a picture to someone who might be able to help me identify it, I need as many clues to help them figure out what this plant is as possible. The final thing is, for scientific drawings, you don't have to know everything about the item, so you can include I wonder statements. So I wonder, because I actually do, I wonder, are these berries edible? Or are they poisonous? I wonder, is this a plant that is natural to Washington, or is it something that is maybe what they call an invasive species? So all of these different things might be something you would add to your drawing. So just for a quick example, this is my drawing that I've been working on, and I'm not quite done yet, but I've included one arrow that shows my enlarged, and I might label this is the top view of the berry. I'm not even sure, it should be called a berry, but that's what I'm gonna put. Maybe it's a seed. And then I also might say, like, maybe this is A, and this is A, so I know what I'm talking about. And then maybe these leaves are B, and so I could put a B over here. Each stem has, and I think there are 4. Let's see, 4 to 5 leaves. So you get the idea. And then I'm gonna say, and remember, the scientific journal can be kind of written, I wonder if these berries are edible. So as you do your scientific drawing, see what else you can explain in your labels or in your details, what you observe, and any I wonder statements.